Hi, and a very warm welcome to the Coaching Life Pod. And I'm your host, Rich Hunter Rice. Welcome to the Coaching Life Pod, where we deep dive into the strategies, the insights, and experiences that shape the lives of successful online coaches. And as always, I'm your host, Rich Hunter Rice. And I'm here to guide you through the journey of building a thriving coaching business without the overwhelm. In each episode, we explore actionable tips, inspiring stories, and expert advice to help you not only scale your business, but also maintain the balance and fulfillment that brought you to coaching in the first place. And speaking of scaling, I'm thrilled to announce an exclusive opportunity for all our podcast listeners. The 5-day Build Your Authority Challenge is designed to help you predictably gain new clients and scale past 20k months without burning out or spending a penny on ads. The challenge is packed with the exact steps and strategies that help countless coaches transform their businesses and their lives. And over the period of 5 short days, you'll receive daily training, actionable tasks, and personalized support to take your coaching business to the next level. You will walk away with a minimum of 25 plus quality leads for your coaching business, and probably many, many more. Now, stick to the end of this episode and I'll explain how you as a podcast listener can attend our 5-day challenge for free. So if you're ready to accelerate your growth and finally create the business of your dreams, don't miss out on this challenge. There's going to be further details in the show notes and the link is there to sign up now and secure your spot. But if you stick to the very end of this episode, you can do all of this for zero cost. Anyway, let's move on to today's episode. And today's amazing guest, I am joined by Vivian Hudson. Now, Vivien focuses on stress and wellbeing, and she offers corporate wellness programs and coaching for leadership to help with stress and leadership. Vivien joins me with an extensive background in healthcare, having worked as a pharmacist in Australia before moving to the US 10 years ago, where she has become involved in leadership training and coaching. Thank you so much for joining me on the Coaching Life podcast. So the first question is always very, very simple, and it's in 3 parts. Tell me who you are, where you are, and what you do, please.
Okay, so who am I? I'm still working that out, Rich, I have to say. I think it's an endless journey. For me, I think we pack our identities so much into our profession. So if I go back in time, I was a pharmacist for many years, and I became a mom. And so part of who I am now is a mom. And I mean, I think I've got the most amazing kids that probably every parent does. And then I transitioned into coaching because dispensing pills to people to help them for the rest of their life wasn't really cutting it for me. So I went into coaching, and maybe we'll delve into that journey in a little bit. I am a person who values, maybe that's a good place to go for the who am I. I value freedom, and I value health, and I value relationships. So I think that that's a big context of who I am. So where am I? So originally, I mean, you can't quite see my whole map there, but you probably pick up from the accent that I'm Australian. So it's from Perth, Western Australia. And I now live in a little tiny town called Inman in South Carolina. So I moved here just over 10 years ago. And what was the last one? Where
That's it. Who you are, where you are, and what you do. I think you've covered those beautifully in the first.
All right.
All is good. So you touched on it very, very briefly there, but I'd love you to elaborate what motivated you to become an online coach and to get into coaching.
Yeah. So I guess I was probably about 40, and I knew at some point that we were going to move to the United States. And because my husband's from here, and so it's my turn to do my penance in the US at the moment. So we'll see where we end up. But anyway, I knew I didn't want to do pharmacy. So you do that, like, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I'm not sure if you, like, at what point you stop asking yourself that question. But I kind of went on this inward journey. It's like, well, I love helping people. And that was the crux of it. And I came across coaching because it was a way that I could help people. And if I go back probably even to my teenage years, I always had this, maybe it was all an illusion or something, delusion, that I would love to help people in a way that really touched their lives, but touched their lives in a way it wasn't like, here's the money to pay for your college education or anything, but more in their heart, in their mind, so that they could live a more fulfilling and a richer life in different ways. And I saw coaching as a very powerful way to do that. So I trained as a coach. When I came to the US, I didn't really have a network. So I got this job, and it's kind of funny, and we probably don't have time to go into all the nuances of my life in this podcast. We might be here for a day or two. But I went into I went into medical sales, and it was actually selling this autonomic nervous system testing equipment, which is like, at some point you go in your life, when is my life going to come full circle? And I think I'm nearly there. Anyway, the whole ANS system is all about parasympathetic versus sympathetic heart rate variability. It looks into well-being, and very much our mindset is a big part of that. So anyway, I don't know if any of this is making sense right now, but where I come to in my coaching journey, I thought, like, I went into the leadership coaching and training space because I was very passionate about leadership. I would just read endless books on personal development and business and all that sort of thing. But I got to this point where it's like, I got all these years in healthcare, and I just feel like it's still part of my DNA, but I'm not using that. I'm not sharing that gift. So, and you probably have coaches that are listening to this that go, what's my niche? Where's my niche? And continually doing this spiral, trying to find out what my niche is. So I still have this niggling feeling that it didn't feel completely authentic as a leadership coach. So I came across wellness coaching and wellbeing coaching. So I've added this wellness component to my coaching business now. And as I say, I think I'm nearly full circle now. So I just got to work in that autonomic nervous system testing. And I think that's probably a little bit above some people's heads, but I know there's going to be some people who would geek out on that with me. But anyway, long story short, it was a journey of deep discovery, looking at all the nuances of my life. And that's where I ended up here. And because freedom is my highest value, going online was just made a lot of sense as well, because if I do go back to Australia at some point, or if I do want to go and hang out for 3 months in the UK, and maybe not the UK, sorry, Rich, but
I won't take it personally. It's fine. Is that due to the weather? That's fine. We've just been discussing the weather before we start. That's fine. Carry on.
Yeah, so it gives me that freedom as well, and I think that's COVID really helped us to question, right, what it is that we want and where do we want to be. So, yeah, long story short.
No, it's a great answer. It's a great answer, and it's very, very interesting. I love how people get into it and what inspires them and whatever else. So how do you work now then? It's online. Do you do one-to-one? Is it one-to-many, like groups as well, or a mixture of the two?
So I do a bit of a mixture. So I have like some one-on-one clients that we meet. Most of my one-on-one clients are weekly clients. And then there's the group format. So one of the things I love with my wellness coaching is it's all run through an app, and then I'm able to provide pretty much daily accountability. So I can go, hey, Rich, I noticed that you've hit your minutes, your active minutes, and it's only Wednesday. Like, you're doing an awesome job. So I can connect with people at a very personal level. and do one-to-many, but people are still getting the support and the accountability. But we also, with my wellness coaching, it's not about sticking to a strict diet or a strict exercise regime. I'm all about consistency. I'm all about you still got to live life. If you want the chocolate, have the chocolate. If you don't feel like going for a run or doing some exercise today, that's okay. And then I have some non-negotiables around that. So one of my non-negotiables is never skip more than one day. So when you blend that kind of together, it just makes it a lot more doable for people. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It sounds great. So just to pick up on that a little bit further, so how do you tailor your coaching approach to suit each individual client?
Well, it's I think that's where, like, being a coach and continuing that coaching journey and your own self-discovery really helps you to shine in that area, because we can only take people as far as what we've been ourselves. You know, that's a saying I heard. I think that's very true, because once you've seen the way yourself, it's easy to guide people down that path. So using different coaching styles, I like to gently challenge people. I like to throw things out there a little bit, to be a bit provocative sometimes, because I know there was times when I was being coached that I wish my coach had pushed me that bit more, or just thrown out the bait that little bit further and challenged me to go for it. So I do use a bit of a mix of styles. People feel very safe and very comfortable with me right off the bat, usually. So I do want to say that I have that gift, so it enables people to really go deep with me, and really share what it is that they need. And I think when you bring that coaching mindset to wellness coaching, that's when the superpowers combine. Because I know we've all had, like, go on that diet, you'll drop the weight. But we all know when you come off the diet, you're going to increase, your weight's going to go up again. All those habits are still there, or you put yourself through this torture program of going on a diet or an exercise regime. So I'm not about any of that. Like, it's just, let's just build some good, consistent habits, and that's perfect. Perfectly
Sounds like you're a
perfect.
breath of fresh air. You're a breath of fresh air in your approach, which is inspiring, and it's great to hear. So I'm picking up there's a bit of technology. So what role does technology play in your coaching?
Right. So, I mean, it's a tool. Like, we all have tools, just like we use Zoom. It's a tool, for example. But it's a way that I can connect. So if people wear like a Apple Watch or a fitness tracker, it allows me to be able to track their fitness data. So we're looking at their heart rate. So this is where my geeky health knowledge comes into play. It's like, I always talk about the mayo jar and cleaning out the mayo jar. If you put water in there and tip it out, it's not going to get clean. It needs to get shaken. So this is where heart rate comes in, that we need to increase our heart rate to clean out the inside of our body. And how much we do that will depend on how much benefits we get from that. But not everybody's ready for a full-on vigorous shake. Sometimes people just need a gentle shake. So I like to meet people where they're at, so we can set goals through the app, and then I get that visibility of where they're at, so they know that I'm watching. I mean, that's why Weight Watchers works for people, because they're going to jump on the scale. So if you know somebody is looking at your activity each day, it's just going to give you that gentle reminder, okay, maybe I will get off the couch and go for that, even if it's just like a short walk. So the technology gives me that visibility. We also use it for meal tracking. So again, we don't do diets. Like, diets are just like, my program is anti-diet. So it's all about, again, building consistent habits, because that's maintainable. Like, a diet is not maintainable. So getting people to be more mindful around how they're eating. And then there's different things within the app. If people want like a screencast independent workout that they can do from home, that's in there. So there's a lot of nuances through the technology. Plus, it gives me the ability to connect with everybody individually or as a group and to build a community through that tech as well. So, yeah.
Wow. Sounds amazing. You are a breath of fresh air, and I completely agree with so much that you say. I mean, obviously, you're the expert. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination in these fields, but I think the word like diet has had such a bad rep over the years. And you think about diet is eating a cracker and, it's all that nonsense, but it doesn't have to mean that. It's been so badly used over the years. But yeah, breath of fresh air. I'd like to report I am going for a walk with the dogs. About 45, 60 minutes after we've finished, just to get my step count up because my PT's on my back as well. So yeah, everything you're saying resonates with me massively. So I'm sure you come up against resistance from time to time with clients. So how do you address the client resistance in the online world, in the online setting?
Right. And that's where coaching comes into this, right? And I think it held me back for quite a while in terms of really jumping into like a wellness approach, because like as an overachiever, it's like you got to get 100%. So if you don't get 100%, then you're failing, right? So I kind of looked at that like with my clients, and I know not everybody's ready, but the thing is, when you're a good coach, you can really start to pull apart where people are at. So tell me more about that and what's the purpose of this behavior, and just really digging into it so that they can make those relationships with their food or behaviors. So, and I can share like an example that I have. So I'm going to admit, Rich, I've got a sweet tooth. Okay, I'm going to have a piece of chocolate probably today. My kids just came back from Australia and they brought these little chocolate-coated honeycomb things that are very hard to find here in the US. So I've opened the bag, and I know that once the bag's open, it doesn't last very long before it starts to go a bit goo inside. So I'm probably going to have 2 of those today, right? That's like my limit, 2 little chunks. So I've got this sweet tooth. So I had to explore, like, what is it about this sweet tooth? And it's more about our relationship with food. And when I did my self-reflection on it, I associated that sweetness with my mother's love. My mum would always bake cookies and a cake on the weekends. You'd have those little chocolate snack-sized Mars bars and Snickers bars. So when we got home from school, there was always that little sweet treat there. So it made me know that my mum was thinking of my brother and I. So that was my association. So being able to coach people and help them understand what their association is with certain foods or certain behaviours is what really helps me to know that if people aren't ready, okay, we got to dig into that a little bit further. And it's not about making them feel bad or guilty. Like, we've all been there. We've all had those experiences, and just taking that kind and gentle approach and helping them to just hold that space for their own self-exploration.
So interesting. So interesting. We could just dive off into different avenues on this and just go so deep on it. But yeah, as you say, we haven't got days, but yeah, maybe we'll revisit this later on. So what's the most rewarding aspect to being an online coach?
Look, just when you see people light up, like, I just get such a kick out of having these conversations with people about where they want to be and then helping them to get there, and being seen as an inspiration for people and then seeing them make those shifts. So I think that they give me more inspiration, I think, sometimes than I give them. So I'd say that's definitely a high point.
Cool. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree entirely. So that's the positives. So what's the most challenging aspect you find of the online coaching world?
Yeah, the noise, right? The noise out there. Like, every time I scroll through my feed, like, there's coaches selling stuff to coaches. My algorithm knows exactly what I'm doing. So how do you sift your way through all the noise that's out there and stand out? And to me, I think that that's probably held me back in how I market myself. Is we can have this, like I said, you got to get 100%. So if you're not getting 100%, then I'm failing. So it's about getting out of your own head, putting yourself out there and knowing. I heard this great analogy just a couple of days ago, and it's a coach I know, and he does these 15-minute workouts, right? Just a 15-minute, just a few push-ups, sit-ups, a few curls, things like that. And his story was, like, you don't see the change from one day to the next. And after 3 months, he saw his brother, and his brother says, "Oh my God, you look great." And it's these 15-minute workouts. And it's the same thing that we have to apply to our coaching business, is putting ourselves out there, the messaging, the content, the connections, and that consistency. And that's where I struggle, that consistency, because over time, you might not see a difference from today to tomorrow, but in 3 months' time, that's when the rubber starts to hit the road. So I think for me, I have to remember that, and I have to stay consistent. So that's my biggest challenge. Yeah.
The whole world's got an agenda, and they want to thrust their agenda onto you, and it's not necessarily your agenda. But I completely agree with you. So just going a bit deeper onto that, so how do you maintain your own motivation and enthusiasm?
Working with coaches myself is definitely a benefit. Also getting into communities that really help you to thrive. So I know your community, Rich, like you've provided a lot of great information, that support that you can get from there. So I think there's a lot of communities out there, and there's a lot, as I said before, there's a lot of noise. So find 2 or 3 that really resonate with you, and invest your time in those, and make sure that you have like a one-on-one coach as well, to be able to help get you out of your own head and give you that gentle kick up the butt that we all need.
The carrot and the stick, absolutely. So can you share a piece of advice for anyone considering a career as an online coach?
Okay, so I think I think you can spin your wheels for a long time as just working on a niche. And I know I did, certainly, and I know that there's thousands of coaches out there as well. So one of my coaches, one of the things that she said is action precedes clarity. So just go out there and do it, right? Just go out there and do it. Just coach anybody that will stand still for long enough to have a conversation with you, and you'll find the little nuggets that you go, "Oh, I loved working with them. I loved working with Rich. I loved working with Viv." And you'll start to see that common thread. And it took me a bit of trial and error, thinking that I knew that what my niche was. And also, I'll say, give yourself permission to evolve. So if I look at the start of my career, I was a pharmacist, glued to a dispensary for 50, sometimes 60 hours a week. And now I'm so far from that. So like, your life is going to take its twists and turns. So just be ready, keep investing in yourself, and just go out and do it, because you don't need to get 100%. If you make a difference to one person in 100, it's still winning. So, yeah.
Ooh, wise, so wise. It's one of my favourite quotes. Action precedes clarity, 100%. And again, it's funny enough, I just had the same conversation, or a very similar theme, with my community as well, around niching. And people get so hooked up onto niche. It's got to be absolutely perfect. The reality is it's going to constantly evolve and change, and that's absolutely fine. So yeah, I love that. That's some wise nuggets right there. So where do you see the business? Where do you see your coaching business going in the future? What do you see, happening in 5, maybe 10 years?
Oh, 5 or 10 years. I think like long term, I would love to have a few health coaches that are working with me, supporting my clients, and my time being spent more on those like really rich one-on-ones for those people that really want that personal touch, because those conversations like really light me up. And definitely with that freedom option. So maybe I'll be in Australia 6 months a year, maybe I'll be in the US 6 months of the year, or somewhere else, who knows. So I'd love to see that freedom that comes with that. Yeah.
It's funny how your energy changes talking about that, and I can really get that from you as well. That's so cool. Amazing. Amazing. So perfect, Vivian. That's been really, really good. You've dropped so much value here. Anyone listening to this today, what's the best way of finding out more about you, getting in contact with you to learn more about the amazing stuff you do?
Right. So I post a lot on LinkedIn because I still have that bit of a corporate thing going on. So actually part of what I do is offering corporate wellness programs. So you can find me on LinkedIn as Viv Hudson. And also I have my own website. It's brainbodyandbusiness.com. It's a bit of a mouthful. So you can find me there as well. And if you find me on Facebook, again, I'm there as Vivian Hudson. So look up Vivien. A lot of people spell it with A-N, Vivian Hudson. And then I've got a group, particularly like women 45 plus. I've got a perfect Facebook group for you to be able to just age gracefully and age in reverse. So I'm happy to say I'm 58 and still feeling like I wake up with heaps of energy still every day. Yeah.
Amazing. That's testimony to the amazing work you do right there. I would never have put you anywhere like that. So fair play to you. Very insightful. I'll make sure all your links are in the show notes. So wherever you're listening to this or watching this, you'll see the show notes. All the links are there. I highly recommend you just reach out to Vivian and find out more about the amazing work that she does. Thank you so much for joining me. As I say, I'm going to get outside in that lovely British cold summer and go and walk the dogs. But yeah, thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Rich. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Coaching Life Pod. I hope you found our conversation with Vivian as insightful and inspiring as I did. Her wisdom and experience truly highlight the power of combining neuroscience and emotional intelligence in coaching, and I'm sure you are walking away with valuable takeaways to implement in your own journey. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow coaches. Your support helps us to reach more people and to continue bringing you the best insights in the coaching world. Also, don't forget our 5-day Build Your Authority Challenge, which is just around the corner. And if you're ready to take your coaching business to the very next level and to start consistently hitting those 20K plus months without the burnout, make sure you sign up today using the link in the show notes. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, if you want to join the Coach's 5-day Build Your Authority Challenge for zero financial investment, simply go to the link in the show notes and enter the code podcast. And this will remove 100% of the cost for your seat. Just be warned, this episode was released on the 26th of August 2024, and there is only a small number of these free tickets available for you, and once they're gone, they are gone. Also, at this time, this is probably going to be the only time we're going to run the challenge this year. So, until next time, keep coaching, keep growing, and keep making a difference. This is Rich Hunter Rice, and you've been listening to the Coaching Life Pod. Take action now. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Coaching Life Pod. And we will see you same time, same place next week.